Hi, this is Matthew Goins from Puzzle Huddle. I want to take a few moments to interview my beautiful spouse and business partner, wife-tastic. There's a lot of things in her head that I never get a chance to get them out of her. So I'm hoping that the camera will create an opportunity for me to get some insight. Even though we're always together, sometimes we have to do other things other than talk about the company. So this will be a chance that maybe I can learn something from what she thinks about our business and the new reality that we're in. If you could just introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hey everybody, I am Marnell. Matthew and I have been together for a long time. We met at Howard, and we have 3 wonderful children, and I also have a full-time job.
Yeah, babe goes to work. She's not like hanging out here waiting to be a useful accessory or tool for the company. She has a job. So babe, how would you describe, how did we get here? We went to California with jobs and no kids. And now we're 3 kids. I have a very different kind of job, and we're in DC. Like, what would you summarize as, what were the steps, the big things that happened?
Okay, so I don't even know if I have a really accurate description, because sometimes I'm thinking the same exact thing, like how did we even get here? I know that we moved here because I got a new position, but in terms of what this turned into and how it became so big, I think part of the impetus was not just you starting it in Sacramento, but us being able to move here without you having an alternative. And so when you were in Sacramento, like, you had this job that was actually starting to become really stressful for you, and that was affecting you in an interesting way. And so I could see that the puzzles were a bit of like a relief in a sense. And remember, we talked about coming here, and I was looking for jobs for you, and I don't even think we actually had a conversation about it. I think I heard you speaking to someone about trying to do this full time. And I was just like, this dude is really about to try to do this full time. But I had to give it some real thought alone, and then talk it out with like one of my friends, Keisha, if she's watching this, thanks Keisha. Just saying, you know, this is an opportunity. If this is his dream, I cannot be the one to stand in the way of that. Like, if it doesn't work out, it can't be because I said we can't do this. And it can't be because, you know, I'm the one who's saying this is a bad idea or you have to work full time. Like, Matthew has to be able to put 100% in it, and if it doesn't work, it didn't work because of maybe it wasn't a great idea, or maybe consumers didn't like it. But it can't be because Marnell said this is a bad idea, because I think that would, it was already affecting you, trying to see like this freedom tied with like a sense of bondage, and so I didn't want to contribute to that bondage in a sense. So it was hard and it was stressful, like moving across the country with 3 kids and my job and like a ton of boxes, and staying with my parents for a little bit and not necessarily knowing how this was going to work out, but I knew that that was something that you needed in order for you to prosper. And I don't mean like prosper financially, I just mean prosper as like a father and a husband and a man.
Yeah, I remember a piece of the story that when you called me to let me know that you got the job offer in DC.
Right.
And you were wondering out loud if you should take it. And my reaction to that was immediately, we're taking it.
You said that. You did. There were no seconds. I remember I was in the room and I was like, I got the job. What do you think? And you said we gotta go. And then I was.
So there's a second question that needs to be answered. Is, well, what am I going to do in DC? Yeah. And I did spend some time looking for jobs.
I did too. For you.
For me. But something in my heart and in my conviction, it gave me the motivation to try to do this instead of looking for a job. One of the first things we did transitioning out of California is we moved into your parents' house. Now, I'm not sure how others perceive that as just a transitional experience or as a negative experience or even a positive one, because we were able to reconnect generations and families all in one place. What was being spoken outside of my awareness or even in your own thinking about us taking this time to now move into move our business into your parents' basement and move our kids into the second floor and spend the summer in your parents' house?
Just interesting that you say moved into, and I just think we just stayed with my parents for a couple months. So I don't even see it as being like that we actually moved in there in terms of like just language use. I just see it as a longer term visit. So my parents are from the Caribbean and my family is really close. I'm close not just with like my immediate family, but also really close with my first cousins and my aunts. So my parents have had my first cousins stay with them for years. Their nieces and nephews just kind of alternate. I've stayed with uncles and aunts in grad school for years, like 5 years, just living in their house. So to them, it was just a really delightful experience. They're empty nesters. My father is older, and so for them, they loved it. I think the hardest part for them was when we left, to be honest with you, because the house was really, really quiet. And they got spoiled. So even now, you know, a year and a half later, they still expect to see the kids fairly often. And with COVID and everything, we can't really do that. And so while it was really great, it kind of spoiled them in a way. And they enjoyed every moment of it. They enjoyed the noise. They enjoyed the kids outside catching fireflies. And my dad said a lot, you know, they're just giving me life. And they also really support you. And I don't know if you know that or not, but like my mother prays for you by name every single night. She tells all of her friends and about you. Like if you don't think right now that her prayer group in the morning at 8 o'clock is literally praying for the shipment to come from UPS so that the boxes come in time. And so like they see this not just as something really exciting, but they see this as something that's like just part of the family. They're really invested and excited about it. They were excited about the boxes. Like to them, it's just, it was zero problem.
It's interesting. I never imagined starting a business that the customers of the business would also send me messages saying that they were praying for the business.
Right.
I thought I would be lucky if I could get people to buy something from me. But for them to buy and then also say, and we're praying for you,
right.
It's just, that adds a priceless level of engagement and support that you just, where does that come from? People, I don't go to any business and also pray for the business as I'm buying the thing. That's not a part of my consumer experience. But it's been something that we've experienced as a company, and we're very grateful for it. One of the final questions I have for you is, so you do have a full-time job and
yes.
increasingly large job. So you have, since we moved to DC, you've been promoted and have even more responsibility. But during the entire course of the company, you've been graciously willing to help. You have other things to do. Your job, your evening email, the kids, helping to manage their home. You're loaded, but somehow you find the energy and the mindset to help. I couldn't be mad at you if you decided you were too tired to help and that you had done all you could do, and boxing and shipping couldn't be something that you would take on. But you help. Why? What motivates you to help?
So that's an interesting question. Let's just start and say I'm relieved that we do have people coming in and doing the orders. At first, with the two of us doing them, we would manage it ourselves in the basement or in the living room, depending on where we were living at the time. And it wasn't terrible. I think just being organized is step one. Now that we have people doing the orders, that kind of leaves time available for both of us to help. But I also think it's impossible to disassociate from the business, and primarily because we were doing it together from the beginning. And so from the beginning, we were looking at orders, we were packing the orders and putting the envelopes in those plastic sheets and mailing them together. But then the other thing is I know where my strengths are and where your strengths are. So if somebody sends you a form to fill out, I know that I'm the one that's going to fill out that form. I'm going to be the one to think of the specifics, like fill out the paperwork for LLCs and bank statements and proofread things and make sure that the period is before the quotation mark or fix spelling errors on posts. And so I can't disassociate with that because I also know that's one of my strengths. I think that's where, as a team, I can't pull back because my spirit just won't allow me. And then, even after I'm done my own work, well, it's never ever really done, but even after I finish my work for the day, I know that part 2 is, all right, let me make sure the elements that Matthew may have overlooked can be done, and I'll help out with that. So sometimes if I know that, you fell asleep because, you had just finished responding to a bunch of emails and you were doing orders all day long, I'll still look in and see what orders haven't been done and who needs to be sent an email, because these are things that I can do, and I know that your list is really, really long, and we handle those types of things differently. Like for forms and stuff, I can do those with my eyes closed. I can respond to 30 emails in a very short period of time and it not be a problem for me. And then I see you also as being like a visionary. You need time to think about big ideas, and sometimes those little things frustrate you and they don't frustrate me in the same way. So
that reminds me of when we were dating, and I think one of the first things about you that I connected with in just the early stages of our relationship, and I was working on my master's thesis, and I was struggling with the formatting, the APA formatting, and you very graciously came in, and it didn't seem like a lot of effort. What I had been spending weeks and months trying to identify how to make that APA formatting correct and according to the specs, you were able to do it in it seemed like minutes. So it's the same thing. It's the things that I would just never do or comprehend. You're able to come in and do.
I had APA's phone number in my phone. I called them one time too. Like, there's a mistake in this handbook because you said this and I don't even understand what this is. So my attention to detail, that's one of my strengths, and that's actually a talent in a way too, like editing and proofreading and organizing, which helps me in my current job as an interim dean. Like just, putting things together. My PhD is in organizational communication, so making sense out of things, and not just in a way like in charts, which is part of it, but also in terms of helping people to communicate and solve problems. That's just a strength of mine, and so it's useful in a lot of different contexts. Okay,
well that's it. I wanted to give folks a little bit of insight. Wifey has a PhD. She's a dean at a university, so she's very busy. But graciously, thankfully, she helps me a little bit on the side as she gets home, even through her.
A lot on the side.
A lot on the side.
Please be sure to follow us and like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Puzzle Huddle.
Follow Puzzle Huddle.
Thank you so much for listening to our interview. It's fun for me to get a chance to ask my wife questions. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well, and we'll bring you some more informational videos moving forward.